let's talk about 6 of the most important things to remember about the game of APBA football. Now, why 6? Why not a more common list of 5 or 10 things? Because 6 is where the magic happens. More importantly, more correctly, at the 66. That's how you read the 2 dice. Look at those ones there. 66 is the payoff. 66 quite often is pay dirt. The points I'm going to make are important for returnees and newcomers alike. So without further ado, here are 6 of the most important things you need to know about the game of APBA football. Number 1, the game was introduced in 1958 and to this day plays essentially the same at its core as it ever has. This is particularly important for you folks who dropped the game years ago and are coming back to it. Despite all the twists and turns, the evolution of the game, new rules and new codes and things like that you hear about, the gameplay is essentially the same as it ever has. And it's the RPK columns on the player cards that tell the story. Quite brilliantly, the game of APBA football follows the ball just like you or a casual fan will do. You see the folks running, passing, kicking. You're not focused on interior line play, okay? Which I know is sacrilege to the hardcore football fan. I mean, hey, we're wearing a Pat May jersey here, but you don't have to worry about the interior line play. Now you can, and we'll talk about that later in the video, but at its core, APBA football plays the same as it ever has. So you can come back and pick it up and it'll be quite familiar. That brings us to point number 2. The master game, introduced in 1983, boils down to essentially 3 new things. Number 1 is you get more than double the play results, including 20 columns or charts of rare plays. This is the way they looked in the original version. They've been reformatted, but they're essentially the same. A couple tweaks here and there. Obviously, very narrative outcomes, very much ahead of its time. And the second thing are these 7 options on offense that you get. And the third thing are the 4 options you get on defense. That's it. The master game is 3 distinct elements, okay? Now, in terms of those 7 options on offense, they include the draw play and the screenplay, both of which work against pass defenses by and large. I don't tend to use them that often, and you don't have to. You also get 1 trick play per half. That's something like the non-quarterback pass, the wide receiver end around, the quick kick. You also get 1 audible per quarter. So if your defensive coach or your automated system correctly guesses that you're going to run a run play or pass play and guesses the ball carrier receiver, you can audible out of that. And so you save those for a really critical down, depending on the situation. Yeah, you can't change your personnel when you use the audible, but you can change your play. So you can try to get out of a bad situation. And the last 3 things on offense for the master game are the 3 formations that you can use with varying degrees of positive and negative effects, depending on the run or pass play you're running. You can use a 3 wide receiver set, a 2 tight end set, a full house backfield set. 3 wide receiver set is better for passing downs, obviously, and 2 tight end or full house backfield give you the same run positive results. Okay, that's it. And on defense, the 4 options you get are nickel or dime packages, a goal line defense, or a blitz. And that's it. That's the master game. Now, there are a lot of line adjustments associated with using those options. I've created a very simple chart that I will email you. Shoot us a note at apbafootballcluboriginal@gmail.com. There are other ones floating around, but I created these in the style of the play cards. See, so you can cut these out and just kind of throw those down if you want. Just use them if you're playing head-to-head. You can just throw down a blitz card, and if you're using playing solo, you can put that card down as a reminder. The third thing to remember about APBA football is because it has been around so long, some antiquated coding has persisted over time. And for the newcomer, this might be a little confusing. So if you're kicking off to your 09, but you're looking for your OA, that's your left halfback, it can be a little daunting to remember. Now, these things are explained in the rules, but again, I've created another chart that kind of explains the shorthand, and I will email that to you. Again, shoot us a note at apbafootballcluboriginal@gmail.com. I've also posted on our Facebook page. So if you've got something like the 2021 Bills here, for instance, well, you got your Josh Allen right there. That's cool. And you got your Stephon Diggs. Well, now you know he's a wide receiver, but the code is EB. What does that mean? It means he's a wide receiver. They don't use that. Reggie Gilliam, well, he's an ET. What does that mean? He's not a terrestrial. It's a tight end. Dawson Knox. Now, you know, if you're a Bills fan or a current NFL fan, you know, that's a tight end, but it doesn't say that. Now, every once in a while, you'll see the newer card sets use more familiar terminology. For instance, the 2021 Rams, Greg Gaines is listed as nose tackle, and you'll see some folks listed as nickel backs. So it's coming a little more into the modern age, but the codes can be a little daunting. We're happy to help explain that to you. Shoot us a note at applefootballcluboriginal@gmail.com. I'll even schedule a Zoom with you to walk you through what the codes mean. The fourth thing to remember about APBA Football is that if you buy the basic book, which looks like this, copyright 2013, it doesn't have a couple of the charts that the master game book does. And those charts are these. At the top, the offensive index range calculator, nice and visual. And down here, the relation of the team offensive index to your receiver's grade, and then the possible defensive adjustment to that index. Okay. Now, the basic book does explain these concepts. For instance, on page 2, they explain how to calculate your offensive index, but it's nice to have that visual guide. In terms of the receiving grade versus team index grade, they explain that over here as well. But it's nice to have that visual, right? And that visual has been around for a while. For instance, the 2008 master book had the receiver to team index calculation there. I call it the math of letters. Okay. But the way I prefer it and the way I've remembered it, and you returnees will remember, is the great old chart here looked a little something like this. And what you see is at the top is the team's index. And when you choose a receiver, that receiver has a grade. That's the second line there. So you compare the team index to the receiver index, or vice versa, however you prefer to say it, and you come up with the receiving index. That's where you find your results. Now, there are rules for how the defense can further adjust that or negate the receiver boost. Unless the receiver has an asterisk, you can't adjust it. That is the math of letters. So remember this or refer back to this when if you have that basic book and you're wondering what they're talking about. That's what that looks like. The fifth most important thing to remember about APBA Football is that anything in the stadium shop that you buy now is compatible. That means either of the rule books, basic or master, goes with any of the card sets you buy. If you go to the stadium shop and you throw in one of the college playoff sets, one of the NFL original franchise all-star sets, and any of the season sets that are available, whether it's the 1957 set, the 1978 set, the 2021 set that we're just looking at right here, they all have copyright dates at the bottom. They are all compatible with the rule books you buy now. Furthermore, the results boards that you buy from the stadium shop now are completely backward compatible to original season sets 2006 to the present. That would be 2007 copyright to the present. That's when they added the kicking results 37 to 42. Now, going back to the original 1982 set, copyright 1983, you can also use these basic or master boards with any of those original sets. You'll just have to compensate for the lack of those kicking results 37 to 42. If you have the original 1981 APBA Football season set or any of the original sets prior from 1957 to 1981 originally, those will not be compatible, and you'll have to dig out your big old whiteboards or buy a new set. But anything you buy in the stadium shop right now is perfectly compatible. So fill up that cart and enjoy. The sixth and final most important thing about APBA Football, I think it's my favorite, is that I call it the erector set of football games. You can build it out to your heart's delight. If you're a newcomer and you start learning the names, Mark Zarb, Ray Dunlap, Greg Barrett, Mark DeGarabedian, Gilles Thibault, and you find out all the great mods you can come up with, Phil Malloy, Denny Hodge, the late Denny Hodge, the great score sheets and trackers and allocators, Doug Reese, automated play calling. The sky is the limit for what you can achieve with APBA Football. or you can play it out of the box. I just had one of the most epic games of my life, of any type of game, playing the 76 Bucks finale against the Patriots. And I'll talk more about that in another video. Basic game, nothing complex. It seems complex because there are a couple of things you have to triangulate to get your results. But once you understand how the three pieces mesh, the offensive index, the field position, and the defensive line setting, you are golden. You're good to go. I am happy to walk you through the game anytime. Reach out to us at APBA Football Club Original at gmail.com. I'm glad to sit with you, look through the card sets, talk about the finding the results, talk about the evolution of the game, and we'll include some links to our videos about the evolution of the game at the end here. So those are 6 of the most important things to remember about the game of APBA Football. Can't wait to hear about your experiences with the game. Dive right in. Remember, we are always available at APBA Football Club Original at gmail.com to help you with any aspects that might be confusing. It's a very simple game. It takes some practice, but all games do. We're not officially affiliated with the company in any way. We're just diehard fans, and we want to help you enjoy the game as well. So, like I say, get over to that Stadium Shop, link in the description, and grab a set or two and roll some 66s.